Okay. All right. Well, welcome everyone. My name is Eva Wilson Fontaine. I'm the team lead here at Anish Corporation, and I'm originally from Peguis, Cree. From there, I'm a mother of three uh, sons and a kukum to two noses. So I'm really proud to hold that role. But today, and for those of you, I don't know if many of you are coming back to join us. We have here at Anish a series called Reclaiming Culture Connections, Reigniting Blood Memory. And so for the month of January, we were wanting to bring in different elders and knowledge keepers to share the creation stories. So today with us, and before we just get into that, well, today we have Wanbdi Wakita. Am I saying it right? Wakita? Yeah, okay. And so he is going to be our elder today sharing. But before I introduce him, I just want to introduce Amanda, who is our Zoom guru. She's the one waving there, and she has been looking after all of our Zooms that we have been doing. So enough of me talking. Now to introduce you to our guests today, our honored guests. Wanbdi Wakita has spent a lifetime making prayers for people. As an Indian residential school survivor, a peacekeeper with the Canadian Armed Forces, a chief of the Sioux Valley Dakota Nation, and also a Sundance chief, Wanbdi has walked many paths. Wow. Over the 3 decades, he's provided counseling and ceremony to inmates in various correctional institutions. Presently, he is a grandfather in residence for the University of Manitoba of the Access Program. In 2016, he received the Order of Manitoba. Congratulations. For a lifelong work to champion a message of healing and unity between all nations. Wanbdi possesses a rare breadth or range of traditional knowledge, culture, and sacred knowledge. So with that, I'd like to hand it over to you, Wanbdi.
Thank you. Can you hear me? It says unmute on here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
No? Okay. I'm sorry I didn't floss my teeth or brush my hair, but it's nice. My 2 friends invited me to come and say a few words. I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience, what I went through, and also I'm going to talk to you about my work, how it impacted me as an individual, learning about myself. I'm one of the older guys. I'm just about 80 years old, and I think I lived a pretty full life. I was born on a little farm. My grandfather and my dad and us boys, we had a very good time working on the farm. We got to know ourselves on the inside, and we got to know the farm, not only the place, but the horses and the cows and stuff. We got to know pretty well the whole part of the farm, working, seeding, all of those kinds of things. And when I was young, we knew our work. We knew what we had to do. Each of us have a job. And like my brother says, I was 7 years old before I found out my name was not Get Wood. So, but we did have quite a good time working on this farm. You know, I found out very early in my lifetime that that there's um, a little community, and later on, I found out that there's a larger community, and the changes that I went through. In my early days, when I was a young boy, I was very active. I really enjoyed experiencing different things, especially with the farm and family. I was born in a log house, and that's quite a deal too. It got me thinking. Way after my life, I got to think about what did I go through, and what is the teaching behind this experience that I went through, and how do I put this teaching towards me. So it was quite a deal, actually. I sure enjoyed the humor and the experiences of living, the safety that I had with my mom and dad and my grandfather. My grandfather had lots of sayings. Get up early in every morning, and now I know the reason why he's saying that. Eat a muskrat every springtime when they first come out. That's another teaching right there. And so as time went along, I'm learning these things, not right away when he's saying these things, but later on you start to put things together. You know, my grandfather told me one time, "You have two brains." I was just a little boy. "You have two brains," he said. "You need to learn. The reason why you have two brains is because you need to learn from what is right and what you need to learn from what is wrong." And my thinking was, I, Grandpa, you never went to school. How do you know that I have two brains? But years later, as I'm going through a science book, I seen this picture of a man with his head open. And sure enough, I had two brains like this, one on each side. And I'm thinking, Grandpa's right. Where did he know? He never went to school. How did he know that I had two brains? So it's a learning, a teaching and a learning and a practicing, understanding, and finally accepting the way things usually go within my teaching, my family. So there's lots of things that I had to find out on my own. When I was young, oh boy, I experienced a lot of things. People would call that strange things, but my grandpa said those are regular things. It must be preparing you for something. Uh, I went to school, day school, and then residential school for 8 years, and the the mistrust and the disrespect and all of those kinds of things that I went through, it was not good. Before I went to residential school, I experienced these things that I went through, the black dots on the whistles that came to the other side, and the fireball in the air, and the little men that I encountered. But I didn't know what they were, what these were. It's a good thing I wasn't scared about these sightings, these experiences that I had, but it sure helped me later on. When I was 13 years old, I'm thinking that this residential school is not very good for me. And so I left. Twice, actually. The first time I ran away, I got caught and I got a good whipping out of that. But the second time I ran away, I just jumped on a bus and came home. And I didn't want to go back this time. So, the experiences of residential school was kind of okay for me, but it wasn't academic stuff that was okay. It was the interaction between the boys and the farm that I worked on at the residential school. I left my farm when I went to residential school. The farm instructor asked who knows how to be a farmer, who wants to be a farmer. I said right away. I put my hand up, and that's kind of a saving kind of a thing for me. Again, I had to figure out what are these things that I went through. What does it mean? There must be a purpose for this. And slowly along the way, I got a I got a I got to learn about me and my heart, for instance, my emotions, and the way I think, the way I do things, the way I talk, heart, mind, body, and spirit. It's quite a teaching that Creator shows us every day almost, and who brings these teachings down to us, our ancestors. And it's good that I would learn about these. I'm adventurous, but I'm also a rebel, especially at the residential school. Well, really, I still consider myself to be a bit of a rebel. But at the residential school, there's some things that I encountered, which is, I would think, would be protective of little ones and not really taking into account some of the rules and policies of the residential school. I like to break them. And so I have lots of stories about those kinds of things. So, but when I was younger, of course, when I'm ready to leave home at 13 years old, when I ran away from residential school, I was, I'm ready. My mom said, before you leave, he said, you're going to get your name, your man name. And this old man came. He's a nice old man. He was about 90 years old. His name is Leo Menard. And he came and done a ceremony for me. And when he finished, he told me, your name is Wanbdi Wakita. Lots of people asked me, is that your real name? I said, yeah, that's my real name. Not the name that the minister gave us when we were born. No, it doesn't suit. Um, my mom told him, and that's his grandpa. That's his name. He said you can't give him. He can't give him that name. But the minister, I guess, was pretty strong, and he just put it on the piece of paper, and so it didn't suit me very well. But today, ever since that time, I used both names. The minister gave me the name Bob Wasekuna. That's what they said. So I didn't have any say in it. So, and the government used that name, and I didn't agree with those things, and I didn't agree with me they wanted me to go back to school at age 13. I said, no, I'm not going to. So when I left residential school, the last time I didn't go back. I went to work on a farm. The experience that I got from residential school took me into the next chapter. I worked on the farm for 4 years, and now I'm ready to go to my next journey, which was the Canadian Armed Forces. And I went in there, and I was told it was this peacekeeping business was for peacekeeping. What I learned was one country, two groups of people who couldn't get along, same language, same culture, but for some reason they're not able to get along. So we traveled across the ocean to this two different places, and we were in the middle of these two groups trying to keep the peace. And I found that different because we got along good in our family, and we got along good in the community. So there's a number of things that I learned. I learned now that when I was young, I was always active. Oh boy, it was good. And also the cooking that my mom and my grandma did, it was really good food. And we didn't worry about going on a diet or anything because we were always in good shape, and the food is different now today. The flour is not like it used to be. The tea is not like I don't think we experienced drinking coffee until maybe the 1960. Before that, everybody drank tea. I don't remember in our household that people were drinking coffee. So when I went to residential school, it was a pretty strange place and strange food. But we had to eat because we got so little food, and the food was different, and a lot of people didn't really want to eat that food. The young ones really had a rough time at the residential school, and the older boys used to take food away from those young ones. I kind of didn't like that too much. I was already big for my age, and I was at the barn milking cows in the morning and in the evening. And so the first pail of milk that I milked, I took it downstairs to where those little boys are. They'll just be waiting to go to have breakfast. But I would go there with a pail and a cup and give each of them that milk, the first pail. And the other thing I'd done was I'm the guy who carries the bag of laundry when when the boys have a shower. I'm the guy that's going to take all their laundry downstairs with just 3 or 4 floors, whatever it is. But I'd come back with an empty bag. But coming back, there was a kitchen there that I had to pass through. And when I look around in the kitchen, I could see bread that's not been cut. And there's jam and peanut butter there on the floor in cans. So I would take some bread and some peanut butter and jam and sneak it upstairs and hide it. And then just not long after, the supervisor would put the lights out, and you could hear him walking down the stairs. And when you can't hear him anymore, we jump out of bed and break the bread with our hands, and we take the jam with our hands, the peanut butter, and we'd have a big feast. So in the early days, the residential school taught me to be a thief. So that's the kind of learning I got. You know, the in the a little bit of time that I got to spend in the classroom, we had this teacher. Oh boy, she was a wicked one. She twisted my ear real hard, and I could hear my ears cracking. She never smiled, and she used to throw chalk at us or those brushes where you wipe the board. And after a while, when she was mad, that's what she would do. She would throw that stuff at us. And of course, after a while, we would learn to catch these things, the brushes and the chalk. And so she made us into good ball players when we were there. And I think the farm saved me. It's the emotional things, the thinking. What it created inside of me was that rage, and I didn't like what was going on in a residential school. There's emotional abuse, mental abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, spiritual abuse, all kinds of stuff going on there. And I know it took a toll on a whole bunch of us. You know, I took this rage and went into the Canadian Armed Forces to do peacekeeping, where we were taught how to kill people. And all I did, you know, we had to keep in shape. We were infantry. Went over with the Canadian Force Brigade into Europe, and we stayed over there for 6 years, and learning how to fight with weapons and stuff. But also too, learning how to fight as an individual, boxing and judo and those kinds of things, and drinking was a big part. One of my friends phoned me this morning about our time in the forces and what we did, alcohol and fighting. Every time we're gonna drink and we're gonna fight. That's all there is to it. There's no other way. I had an outlet for that. I was to play hockey. I was in a sports battalion. I was very, very fortunate to go through that as well. I was fortunate to go work in a farm at the residential school. I was fortunate enough to be in a sports battalion. To be good at something, and you have to be in really good shape. And I was proud of that. I had a good shot in the army, which my grandfather and my father taught me how to do hunting before I left. And it's those kinds of things that I used. And being native, indigenous, or Indian, whatever you want to call us, you know, people look at me differently when I was there. Some of them accepted me. And if they didn't accept me, I'll just fight them. You know, that's how things are. Today, we know them as different things. We know them as racism and discrimination, those kinds of things. I didn't care at that time whatever they wanted to call me or whatever words they used, whatever they understand about us, didn't make any difference. But the combination of residential school and Canadian Armed Forces, they kind of go together, where the rage is inside, and you're going to use that rage for something. There's a 40-foot ceiling rope, a big rope, 40-foot ceiling with a big rope, and a staff sergeant would time us. There's 4 of them lined up, and the one who gets up there fastest and comes down fastest And because there's a bit of very little understanding about Indigenous people, we had to have, I like it when I come in first. And also running 15 miles a day. That's pretty good. I had it pretty good. That's why I think I'm still walking, you know, almost 4 miles a day and still keeping in shape. And friends my age back at home, they're no longer here. So those are the things that I learned along the way. When I came back, I just wanted to share this and then I'll tell the creation story and what's attached to it. When I came back, uh, I used to listen to those spirits when I was young. Uh, they never were around when I was in the Canadian Armed Forces. But when I came back to Canada, I started to listen to them again. So I was very thankful. I was worried about that, but I was thankful. So, all of this, there's lots of words describing us in Dakota people living on this land. There are lots of words. And I consider those things to be holy. And so, what I heard about us, Dakota people, uh, we were given instructions on, I would call them sacred instructions. Almost every day, we get some kind of instructions. Some kind of Creator will give us something. Creator will show us something. Creator will teach us something. Creator will tell us something. Those that way, and it all has to do with you. And every time we get sacred instructions, there is an action that has to be done regarding that. But we have to learn. We have to learn what this is. Sacred instructions, because they speak the old Dakota language. Hardly anybody speaks that now. And sometimes it takes quite a while to understand what it is that they're trying to tell us. So that's how things turned. And so I started to listen to the old people about what went on. And I had some pretty good teachers. I would classify them as professors. And I had one favorite teacher that I had, a professor that I had. His name was Ota. And boy, when he spoke, I really wanted to listen. And when my grandfather spoke, I listened, especially when I was younger. Ota came along after I came back from the Canadian Armed Forces. 1 month after I came back. That's pretty quick because I was still drinking and fighting. But when this sacredness came to me, he was the instrumental in guiding me through those teachings. He didn't tell me what they meant. He just was teaching me. There's always a purpose and a meaning of things that happen. So I put that together with the teachings my grandfather gave me. His name is Berpa Wa Sichuna. I also heard about my great grandpa. His name is Ishtajaja. And I also know that my father, his name is Echaka Chui Maza, Elk Ironsides. So learning all of those kinds of ways of how our people would be given instructions on what to do. I put that together, not only learning about sacred law, but also natural law and human being laws. Those three things are, and they're done in order, by the way. Learn about yourself, human being law. Learn how we were connected to the natural laws where Creator gave us instructions. And the help that sacred law and natural law, the help that we got from those two areas, like the legends, the true stories of long ago. That's the way I say it. They told us 20 billion years ago that Creator put medicine on this earth. Medicine is like the grass and the trees and all of those flowers, everything that's Mother Earth started to grow. And the other thing was, no, not that one. That's something else. The other thing that I learned was that everything that Creator put on this earth, the medicines that was put on this earth, there's a reason why. And it came in the form of laws. What kind of law? And why do we have that? And what do we need to do with these laws and the natural things, the medicines that are growing on Mother Earth? I learned about those things. Some came from my grandpa Wasichuna, and some came from my professor Ota on what these things mean. And I learned a few things from other people, like the old guys who have been appointed by Creator to be able to help other people. And there's different names for them. We chash tawaka. Oh, in the olden days, they say we chash tawaka, a red man who is holy. And then later on, the Creator appointed men and women who is able to provide a service to our people who might be sick or who need some help of some sort. And they call those it sounds similar to doctor, wapia. And then there's other names, a pharmacist who looks after medicine, pijuta, wichashta. That's what they call them. And so we had different names for Creator when they appointed people, only certain people, the ones who are able to look after themselves really good. So, and it's quite an honor to work with people like that. It's quite an honor to be thankful and honored to be given that kind of a role, a job from Creator, a holy man or a medicine man or things like that. And those are cultural things. Those are sacred things. Those are connected to a whole bunch of other things. So, and that's where I got the information from the old people telling us that that's what Creator did. He put medicine on this earth 20 billion years ago. Of course, before that time, the stars, they were all stars at one time. Now they have different names for it. They have stars and planets and suns and moons. You know, like there's 11 suns, for instance, and a few moons. But we just pay attention nowadays to the sun and the moon. I don't know why. They're all the same and they're all holy. They placed themselves together so that they wouldn't keep smashing into each other. They did at one time before they made plans, but now they're some of them just fall into uh, the discoveries that were made by people like the astronomers and astrologists and stuff like that. And they even put names on those stars. But this particular planet, the old people told us, you know, when those stars got together, they some particles. There's fancy scientific names for these. When these particles, when these molecules get together, they form something. And that's what the old people said. We come from the blue star people. Now, if you look up in the sky, you might see a red star or a yellow star or a blue star. There's different colors up there. And that's what the old people were telling us, that we come from the blue star people. And so out of that, there is different teachings that come from that, like the blue star people turned into somebody being shown, having a vision about the blue star. How do you put it on? How do you draw that? How do you talk about it? How do you say that when you get a vision to your family, to your community? How do you say that? Well, you say it exactly how you got this vision of the blue star people in the sacredness that it came, the showing, the viewing, and the teachings and the visions that you got. You share that with your family, and then from there it goes into different kinds of things. So that's what they said. Another group of professors, our Dakota professors, they told us that animals and the things that have wings were put on this earth 500 million years ago. And those animals and those the things that have wings, they were put on this earth with their own laws. They have their own laws. And you know that when people were trying to carry this message, this this vision that Creator told somebody, one of our people, that person was to share that kind of a message with the people, the communities. That's somebody's job in a camp, most all. Later on, it turned into something that they marked on a piece of hide. They were called winter count. But before that, it was people sitting down and sharing about what this community should do and what kind of names they're going to have, all of those kinds of things. That's where those laws came from. And then shortly afterwards, a little less than 2 million years ago, Creator put human beings on this earth. 4 nations of white man, 4 nations of yellow man, 4 nations of black man, 4 nations of white man, each with their own laws. Imagine that. Eh? Can you figure out what are the 4 nations of white man? Can you figure out what nations, 4 nations of yellow man? And these people were placed all over the world on this planet, which was formed. By the way, when our people told us this planet, uh, Mother Earth grew medicine 20 billion years ago. Well, now, if you check into what the scientists are saying, did you know that this planet is 45 billion years old? So they were pretty close to the stories. The other thing about the animals and the things that have wings, our people said these animals were put on this earth 500 million years ago. So the last 2 or 3 years ago, the scientists discovered an animal that's 416 million years old. So they're pretty close to what our people are saying and what the scientists are discovering. So there must be something similar to what these people are telling us. So I appreciated these old stories, the true stories of long ago, and our people being put on this earth, uh, Dakota people being put on this earth with the Blue Star people. So, and of course, when some other Dakota group got together, they said, we were born from the rock. It's almost the same as the other group saying we come from the Blue Star people, because a star is a piece of rock. All of those things you see up there are pieces of rock in different forms, in different shapes, and there's gases on there. There's a little bit of water in there, and all kinds of different things on some of these stars and planets, and so we're just getting to hear those stories of how the old people told us what they heard and what they were taught, and most of that stuff came from ceremony. That information came from ceremony. When Creator put man on this earth, 4 nations of red man, I wonder who they are. And they are certainly not the Cree, the Ojibwe, the Mohawk, and the Dakota. It's not like that. They went by the first peoples on this planet. That's what the names was, until they showed each other their visions and their stories, uh, their culture, basically their culture. Here's the way things are. Here's the way you will do things. Just like on the farm when we were young, my grandfather would give us jobs to do. Well, Creator done that to our people as well. He gave jobs to certain people, not all people. And those people, they told their family, here's the way we'll do things. It came, the sacred instructions came from up there. And this is the way we're going to live. And so these are the things that we learned from the stories. When Creator put us on this earth, the message was live in a sustainable way. And these are your relatives. Mitakwe oas. That's what the message was when Creator put our people on earth. Mitakwe oas means all my relatives, all my relations. Today we continue to say that because we want it to be truth. So when you go and kill a deer, or before you go and kill a deer or a moose or an elk, you always make an offering. And when you kill that animal, you say thank you. Live in a sustainable way. My grandfather's words at one time is eat according to the seasons. So it's best that you would eat the berries on those trees. It's best if you would only hunt the big animals only in the fall time. It's best if you can hunt ducks and geese at a certain time. It's best if you learn the cycles of the fish, for instance, or rabbit, so that you'll know what when you can hunt and when you can. So they have laws. The animals have laws, and it's better, as we learned, that we follow the laws of those animals, or the winged, for instance. That's why you see ducks in the springtime and geese in the springtime, and and all of a sudden they're gone towards winter. They have their own laws for doing that. They have their own laws for laying eggs, all those kinds of things, so that the new ones. Our job is to be a conservation person, to make sure that you take care, just take what you need, kind of a thing. If you caught two fish, you would take one home and have it for lunch or supper, and give the other one to my auntie. That's the teaching, the law of sharing and caring. Those are pretty important things if you live by those. Somehow, we have a large tract of land right from the border of the uh, Northwest Territories, right down through to the Florida coast. We have the original map that says that. And that if we follow the culture, the laws that was given to us, songs, language, ceremony, all of those, if you follow that, things will be good. If you didn't know, or if you didn't follow those laws, you can be forgiven, but you're not able to keep mistaking or forgetting these laws all the time. That's when Creator is going to say, yeah, come home now. I'm going to take you home, bring you home. When you're not doing good on this earth, that's one of the laws. Is Creator's job is to put people on this earth and take them home. The other kinds of things that we learned about these laws are to learn each other's laws. Mitakoyoas. What are those? It's hard to say this, but a lot of us forgot those laws. And at first, I started to blame intrusion, obstacles, the laws of other people They don't speak English or you'll get a strapping. Okay, so we're not going to follow that. Our Father who art in heaven, there's nothing wrong with that, except that we have our own way that we've been given by Creator, a law that was given to us. So we say things like Tukashira Atewa Kantaka, Grandfather, Father, Great Holy. And if you look up in the sky, you would see the connection to our living a life laws to their laws. And if you observe their laws, what you do on this earth works out good. That's how it sounds simple, but it's the learning part and the knowledge you need to have, the wisdom, the intelligence of these laws. Learn. None of us, not one person on this earth is able to follow all of the laws of all things. That's impossible. Nobody is able to do that. Right from the smallest bug to the dirt, to the grass, to the flowers, to the medicines, to the trees. They fall, they lose their leaves in the fall time. All those kinds of things. Those are laws. And we can learn some of it. Long ago, they only just cut trees that were already dead. And then they cut them up to use for fire, cooking, and there are specific laws on how to live as a person. When we followed those laws, it was good. So it was kind of a big deal to try and learn and keep your way of dealing with yourself. When you learn about a law that's given to this group or that group, that it comes in a form of vision, dreams, and usually it's called culture. So culture is pretty important. Along with doing your culture, you are given things to do together. Your family, yourself, individual self, your family, your community, you know, and that's usually mixed up with what people call tradition. Tradition and culture, they go hand in hand. But later on, tradition changes over time. The community evolves, is changing. And it's not only by doing white man things, but it's changing because you're an individual. You make prayers, you get more understanding, all those kinds of things that you take natural medicine, eat when you're hungry, rest when you're tired. Those are the words of my grandpa. Eat according to the seasons. Eat a muskrat in the spring when they first come out. Those are the laws. And then when you practice those, that's tradition. But I'm saying tradition changes over a period of time. The more clear, the more changing, the more recent laws that the most recent traditions that changed in my community. I remember people used to go singing house to house. Every house they stop, there's the household leader that comes out of the house, with a hide or some food or some blankets or whatever. That's him that's donating. That reminds me of Trudeau going from house to house collecting taxes. That's the same thing, so that our government can run good. So there was interference, obstacles. Don't speak your language. Speak English instead. And we have a hard time. I have a hard time with that. And I could see that other people are having a hard time with that and not knowing what they can do about it. If I didn't like it, I would let somebody know, especially when I was younger. I let some people know who call me names. I let them know. So those are the things that we're working with now. That is important because it changes. A community changes when you start to do something, and that's something you can classify it three different ways: the human being law, the natural law, and the spiritual law, the sacred law. They're all connected. And so when we start to do things like that, we need to learn how to put those laws into action. The Creator is giving us those things so that we could figure out what we need to do. And how are you going to put that into action? You're looking inside of you and saying, heart, mind, body, and spirit. You put those into action. All the dreams, all the visions, all the things you can do. We mistake things along the way, we mistake things because language, words they're not clear. I consider the English language to be very, very, not very good. So we try to stick with our own language to really know what those things mean. Every once in a while, you'll hear me talking of some words in Dakota. All of you that are listening here, you know one word of Dakota already. House, teepee. You know that. So that's a teepee is a Dakota word. It means house. The way we view that house is that it's a security. It's a shelter. It's a basic human being right. They put it in to a declaration or whatever it is. But so is the words that we use. You hit the nail right on the head. What the heck does that mean? It has no meaning. Why use those words? So English turned into a silly language. And I don't really want to go into those English, because I'll give you an example. We were out, I was out somewhere downtown quite a few years ago. And it had to do with mostly Washitu people wanting to learn about different things. And I put some words on a board, the regular words that belong to your heart, that belong to your mind, that belong to your body, total holistic body, and the sacredness of this place that you're living in. And one of those words is respect. And so after we took a break, we took a 10-minute break or 15-minute break, and this Washicho man, a young man, must be 25, 30 years old, he came to me and he said, "Do you know respect?" I brushed him off. And I, what's going on? Somebody's coming on the air and trying to talk. So maybe it's the time for a break. But let me finish off this last bit and then we'll have a 10-minute break. The word respect. I'm thinking, I find this pretty strange that a Washichu would come and ask me if I know this word respect. He got me thinking. No Washichu has ever told me if I know this word respect. I took it home to my professor, Ota. His name is a very nice man. You know, ahopa, respect in my language. And he's just to clarify, that word in Dakota, he said the same thing. He said, now that you have an idea of what this word means in our language, you need to go and put it into action so that you would really know what it means. So I got a teaching from that, from Ota. So in English, it takes quite a learning about respect to know the words and to also put that word respect into action. And I hear it almost every week, every month, somebody saying that to me. If I have to eat hamburger, you have to eat hamburger, he says to me. I said, no, that's not my food. I said, that's your food. My food is the deer and the moose in the bush. That's my food. So those are the things that we would need to learn. I'll talk a little bit about those words after we have a break. It's 1 minute after 2. We'll take a 10-minute break and then you will come back. And when we come back, I'm going to ask if there's any questions so far. All right? Okay, thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you, Wanbdi. All right, 10 minutes. I'll play some intermission music for you all.
You'll have to show me how to, like when we're doing our focus group.
My mic is on.
Oh, is it?
It's okay. Hello, everyone. Sorry, just before we begin again, I'll just give a quick reminder. If you notice in the chat, I just included a link to our feedback survey. So if you have a few minutes after today's session, we'd love to get some feedback from you. The whole virtual format is fairly new to us, so any sort of tips and tricks or critiques or advice, we would very much appreciate it. So the link is there. And then also just a reminder to keep your mic muted. At the end of the session, we can have a question period, and then you're welcome to unmute yourself to ask. But we'll get started again. I see Wanbdi's back. So Wanbdi, if you wanted to unmute yourself.
I'm here.
Oh,
Okay, am I going on now?
yeah, we can hear you now.
I'm asking anyone if they have any questions.
If anyone would like to unmute their mic, feel free. Deborah?
Hello, I actually would like to ask, I'm Yvonne from Campbell River, and I'd like to ask, you mentioned natural, spiritual, and something else law, and I missed that. What was the other law?
I guess I'm saying knowing you, who you are. That's what the old people said. And that's human being law. That's what you would start with, to know who you are. Eat natural food, put humor in your life, all of the, have a belief of some sort. Those are all laws. I might be able to, if I get a chance next time, I'd like to talk about that,
Mhm.
that kind of a deal. I'd like to tell a couple of stories as well. That's going to be one of the teachings about us as human beings.
Thanks. And
Thank you.
I think Deborah would like to ask a question as well. Oh, Deborah, did you want to go ahead? I see your mic is unmuted.
No, sorry, I was just trying to make sure I had it muted. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I'll go ahead and mute. There we go. Are there any other questions? You're also able to, if you wanted to, you can put a question in the chat box and I can read it out for you if you'd like as well. Um, if there's no questions, maybe you want to continue, Wanbdi?
I will, sure will. It's good to see some of my family on here. We are always searching for information, especially now that COVID's around. We are sitting at home and there's still lots of information to share. You know, COVID is here. When I had a ceremony, this old man came and was the old man spirit came and told me about this COVID. It's here because it's to teach us. It's for a teaching, and so uh, the the COVID has a spirit, and it's going to be a little while longer before we finished with the teaching that this COVID is giving us. And none of us, not one person, is able to go back to the things we were doing just before the COVID. So I hear people saying, "Oh, I wish COVID was over. I like to get back to the things." No, things gotta change. That's the teaching, and it has to do with you on the inside. So really, we would learn about us. So because that's what the COVID is it's come inside of you to teach you something. So it'll be good to take a close attention, a close inventory of your own self to see what it is that you need that needs to change. So let me continue on with some of the after we get hanging around a little bit on this planet. There are cultural things. There are visions that certain people get. And I'm just, for about 25 years now, I would say, people are searching for something. I had a group here of about 45 people. They're all Washichu. And they came to me and they said, we like to belong to your church. Our church is not very good, they said. So we'd like to belong to your church. We want to come to your church. I said, sure, you can come to my church. course, I don't have a church. I just have the words from the, the, the sacred ones who give me instructions. And my way is to share those instructions for people who ask. When I agreed that they can come to my church, I said, when you come here, when we do ceremony, I need you to pray your own way, not try to come pray like I do. You have your own way. I said, you because they're non-indigenous people, they're not Dakota. And they agreed to that. You know, a lot of those people, there's almost 50 of them, maybe even a little more now of those people wanting to learn about what do I need to do to learn how to live creative in a good way. And they're still here. In fact, I want to give you, it might be a surprise for you, that they advanced to working for Creator as well. They're Washichu, but Creator gave them a work because of all the things that they went through over the past 25, 26 years. So anything can happen. Creator is loving and kind, and Creator will look after you when you look after yourself. Those are very important things to think about and to do. And this is for you. My instructions are: we will show you something, whether it's about what this current situation is regarding this world, or the people, or whatever it is that that I need to do. What words do I need to share? What medicine do I need to give? All those kinds of things, and I would just share them with the person. Sometimes they tell me things, but I don't share with the people because it does no good. They don't always want to keep hearing that they're no good or they can't do it or there's certain things like that. You can't put those in people's heads when they're trying to get well. They only come asking to get help or support or something. You can't put more hurt on them. So those are just things that I come to learn about. My teaching from this living on this earth that Creator put us on this earth a little less than 2 million years ago. It's quite a deal. It's a serious business when you get to live on a planet and to do the things you need to do. First you, and then as a family, and then as a community, and then the regular things. So that's what my grandpa used to say. Oh, that's just a regular thing, you know. So it's not. I heard people say, "Oh, that's a miracle." I said, "That's not a miracle. It came from Creator and given to you." So those are regular things: to make prayer, to ask for help, to get a blessing. Those are regular things. So it isn't a miracle. It isn't a show for sure. And but it is the truth. The things that need to happen, Creator will give you that. Indirectly give you a message, and that's kind of my job. Like I'm not a magician or or I got special powers. I don't have any of that stuff. All I know is that when you get instructions or when people come to seek help, I would make a space really, really clean 3 or 4 days before the ceremony and then ask them to come with tobacco and 1 meter of blue broadcloth, a bottle of water, or a container or something, and something for the spirits to eat, because they are the ones that's going to help you, not me. I don't have anything. So that's important to know. When long ago, when I got my pipe, my ego started to get in the road. And so one of the first things my uncle said to me was, "Don't show off with that thing." Okay, all right, I'll take care. Just to give you an example of of what I learned over time, which has a special meaning. In fact, I'll share two of them. I'm sitting uh, in a big table, and every Monday we have a meeting in the morning. So there's Shitu people there. There's my helper sitting beside me, and of course, some of you heard that I work in a correctional institutions. So I'm sitting there with the warden and the nurse and the psychologist and the con, con, conservation, no, the guard. I forget what you call them. Anyway, we're sitting there waiting for some people to join us at this meeting. All of a sudden, the warden picked up something from his pocket. It was summertime. Uh, he squirted something in his mouth, and he took a different one. He took the other, same thing. So I said, "Warden, what is that?" "Oh, that's just medicine for my asthma." He said. "Oh," I said, "how long you have asthma?" "For 20 years." "That's a long time, Warden." I said, "Don't you want to get rid of your asthma?" And he says to me, I'd give it away if I could. I said, "If you want to do that, you'll come to my office." And my little office is just a desk. That's all, and a phone, a chair, and a steel bench of some, it looks like a couch. And you come at 11 o'clock. I said, "That's when I'll be free." "Okay," he said. "And you bring these 4 things: tobacco, 1 meter of blue broadcloth, water, and something for the spirits to eat, your offering." "Okay," he said. Sure enough, right at 11 o'clock, there's a knock on the door. I open the door, and here's this warden standing there. And I said, "Warden, can you tell me why you're coming here?" I said, "I'm coming here because I really would like to get rid of my asthma." He said, "Okay, thank you." I said, "Sit down." So we are all sitting on the floor. We had a blanket and cushions on the floor. So the first thing is my prayer. I filled up my pipe and made a prayer. And the first thing I said was, "Creator, this man, he doesn't know my ways." I said, "He's not Dakota. And he has trouble breathing." I said he got some kind of sickness that he can't breathe so good. So he's using a different kind of medicine to help him. And he's had it for a long time. And he really wants to get rid of his asthma, I said in my prayer. I asked that man, I said, when I start making prayers, I said, you make a prayer of what you need. So he started making prayers too at the same time. When I'm finished the ceremony, one of the spirits came to me and he said, give him one of the tree leaf, he said. And he's speaking that in Dakota. So I'm thinking, what the heck is he talking about? I don't know. He used the old language. And then I remembered I only have one medicine in my bag that's in a little container. That's a tree leaf. So I pulled it out and I put a big spoonful of that in a little bag. And I gave it to that man who has trouble breathing. I said, boil this in a pot for about 5 minutes, make a good. And after it cools down, I said, you drink that, and it should be good. I said, take your time drinking this. Maybe 1 or 2, maybe 3 days to drink this medicine. I said, use a pot that you never used for anything for that. I said, just only for medicine. Okay, he said. You know, that man, I think he was French. You know, he doesn't have any uh, asthma anymore because he really wanted to deal with that. And he came to ask Creator for help. And he, through his prayer, and that's what he got. So Creator does that. Creator is the one that makes things. My only job was to make that room good so that they can come and bring that kind of instruction to him. And his job is to receive that in a good way, that medicine, to accept that medicine in a good way. He has a good heart and a good thinking, a good feeling. And so that's how he got well. And it doesn't end there. There's a reason why he got that hard to breathe asthma. There's a reason why he got that. That he's not to go back to that kind of thinking or that kind of doing again, so that it doesn't come back. So that's just one example. The other example, and this is a true story that happened to our people a long time ago. And it's about the horses, how we got horse in a ceremony. There was this big camp, oh boy, 500 teepees. The chief got up in the morning, early in the morning, and he yelled out for the town crier, the Eapaha. And so he come running, and that's a big camp. And he said, you gather the council together. He said, I want to have a meeting with them right away. So this town crier, he knows all the teepees, who lives in what teepee, just by the markings on the outside of the teepee. So the town crier goes running and he calls out, wake up, the chief wants to have a meeting with you right away. Go to the council house. And within a little while, not long, the chief and the council, they sat inside, make some prayers and done some cleansing with medicine. And he said, the reason why I called you here is because I want to know if there's an end to this world, he said. I see the sun rising every morning, going across and ending in the evening, going out of sight. So I want to know if there's an end to this world. So the councilmen, they talked, didn't take long. So they all agreed, okay, let's see if we can find out if there's an end to this world. They picked 4 men, tall, strong, fast, not yet with women. They went into the ceremony. They made extra moccasins for them. And they had papa, wasna, dry meat, that's what it's called. They gave him extra dry meat. And the ceremonial leader, he says, go towards the where the sun goes down. Away they went, running. They ran all long time. For about 3 or 4 days they ran. Because they were following the instructions of the ceremonial leader. They slept on the side of the hill one night. And they never sleep on the top of the hill, or they never sleep on the bottom. They sleep in the middle of the, for safety. For in those days, there could be danger at any time. Early in the morning, one of the guys, he woke the others up and said, wake up, I heard something. So they peeked around the corner. This was early in the morning. They peeked around the corner. And down there was a man facing the other way. Who would be sitting out here? It was a strange man, they said. He had, he's not one of us. He's different. And that man, there were the 4 men were trying to decide, what are we going to do? One of them said, we're going to go around. We got a big job. The other one said, this guy, he's not of our kind. Let's just kill him and get on our way. And the other one said, there's a reason why we came across this man. We should go and see him. And all of a sudden, the man down there, he says, hey, you 4, come on down. I have something to tell you. They jumped back because this strange man, not of their kind, was speaking Dakota. And for some reason, he knows that there's four of them up there. What shall we do? They said, this guy's speaking our language. And he already knows there's 4 of us up here. Well, he said, one of them said, there's a reason why we came across this man. And he knows we're here. So I think we should go and see him. That's these things are waka, they're holy. So with that, they went down there. When they got down there, they were looking at this man. It's strange. When they got down there, he said, you 4, you sit on the south side here. So they sat down. He said, I have something to tell you. And he had a small little fire going. And they were looking at him, these 4 guys, they were looking at him. He had a white blanket over covering him. And they said he had wood on his feet. And he said he even has hair on his face, they said. right here. And he speak Dakota. When he sat down, this small little fire going on there, he grabbed a handful of grass, this man. He rolled it up into a ball and he threw it into the fire. White smoke came up. And that white smoke, out came a little animal, deep red, nice little animal, about, I don't know, waist high, this little animal. And it's just standing there. That man, he grabbed another handful of grass, rolled it up into a ball. He threw it into the fire again. This time, the same animal, same kind, only a white one. Again, he took a handful of grass, he rolled it in the ball, and he threw it in the fire. Another same kind of animal, only this time a yellow, tan colored. And once more, he grabbed a handful, he threw it into the fire. White smoke came out, and along came a same kind, only black. And they're just standing there really nice and quiet. And that strange man, he told these people, those four men, he said, these animals, they're going to look after you. You're going to depend on them in your lifetime. He said, treat them well, treat them good. Don't hit them. Let them eat grass. Let them drink water. Talk to them. And sing this song to them every once in a while. And that man, he started to sing. Wayakeyo, wache au chikawastewa, wache au wayakeyo, wache au wayakeyo, Wachi au aya keyo shukasawa wachi au waya keyo wachi au waya keyo. What that strange man was singing was, look, they come a dancing. The red animal come a dancing. Look, they come a dancing. The white animal come a dancing. Have a look. Look, they come a dancing. The yellow animal come a dancing. Look, they come a dancing. The black animal come a dancing. Have a look. That's what he was singing. The four directions and the color of the animal from each direction. When he finished the ceremony, he reminded them again those 5 things, the way to look after these animals. And what he said, you can't go any further here. He said, you take these animals home and tell your Itacha, the spokesman, the leader, that I'm coming over to your camp in a little while. I'm going across this big body of water, and if they don't kill me over there, I'm going to come to your camp. I know where your camp is. So you look after these 4 little animals, and they would look after you. So they took them home. They called him Koda, and they shook hands with him. Thank you, Koda, they said. Thank you. Away they went, and they got back to their camp with these 4 little animals. Well, the 4 people, they were given a task to see if there's an end to this world. And they went and spoke to the chief. They said, we went towards where the sun goes down. And one morning when we got up, we met this strange man, white blanket, wood on his feet, hair on his face. And he gave us these 4 little animals. Huh. So they went into the ceremony. They tied those 4 animals outside the purification lodge. And the ceremonial leader, he had a ceremony. And when they were finished, the ceremonial leader says, from now on, those animals would be called Shunka Wakan, holy dogs. And you'll treat them the way that man told you to treat them. Don't hit them, talk to them, let them drink water, let them eat grass, and sing them this song every once in a while. So that's quite a deal to be given horses. They're called horses nowadays, Shunkawakan. That's what they came to be known as now. The last time they brought horses into the ceremony, and I told the boys, okay, I said, they're bringing 5 horses in there. Let's sing that song. And they sang that song. But only 3 of them danced, not the other 2. So those 3 must have been raised up those 5 different ways of bringing them up. That's why they danced. It's really good to see, because that matches that story 2,000 years ago of how we got those horses. And people still sing those songs. I remember that one farmer, as a Washichu farmer from a little town, little ways from here, a small town. He had a small farm, and one day one of the horses got sick. And he told his daughter, we have to take this to an Indian place, he said. So he loaded him up and took him up to one of our communities. And the boys, they sang that song. And when they finished singing that song, the horse was not sick anymore. So he brought that horse back to his farm. So the farmer's daughter, she remembered what they had done, what his dad done to take that sick horse to the Indian reserve, and they sing that song, and so the horse got well. She remembered that, and so those laws, they're still relevant today. They still work today. So those are important things to remember. Today, if you have a sickness, it'll be good to keep yourself in good shape, to work towards healing that sickness, and making prayers and asking Creator to help you. And Creator is so loving and kind, Creator will help you if you wanted to get well. In the meantime, you'll follow all kinds of those laws. That's how holy those laws are. You could see. They bought a dog here not long ago, and I think it was in last week in August, because that dog they took her to the vet, And they done some tests and they didn't see nothing. So they bought that. I seen my grandfather do that ceremony a long time ago, where he took a medicine, put it in his mouth, and when the dog was sick, he opened up the dog's mouth and he blew that medicine into his the dog's mouth, and the dog got better. So Creator gave us those laws so that we could things will get better. That's how it is. So when someone asks me about that creation story, I'll tell them about long ago, 20 billion years ago, 500 million years ago, and just a little while ago, less than 2 million years ago, all that stuff that went on through holy methods, the way we got those. And there's other attachments to that, and that one is the white buffalo calf woman who gave us seven different rights, seven different ways of your people shall live, is what she said. And so our people know those stories very well. And we need to keep those stories because today it has some relevancy. And the old people told us we don't play around with that because it's not a show. It's serious. It's a waka that's holy. Something Creator gives you that's holy. It's going to be holy. If something Creator gives you something, it'll be holy. And you don't discount that. You don't ignore that. You make sure that you put action behind that, those visions or those dreams, and you take care of it. So those are the things that we go through. That's really part of the way um, living a life is. Besides the creation thing, the where we live, how we lived, where did we get it from? What is the purpose of doing things this way and that way? And that if we keep following those sacred laws, we would be like the white buffalo calf woman said, your people shall live. If you don't follow these instructions, your day will be no good. So those are the things I want to right now maybe ask to see if anybody has some questions. And then I want to end off with a song that has a meaning. So anybody have questions?
Again, feel free to unmute your mic if you have a question, or if you'd like to type it out into the chat group, I can present that as well. But maybe while we wait, I do have one question. Today is Bell Canada's Let's Talk Day. So it's about mental health awareness. And I was just wondering if you have any advice or just, I know it's been a really difficult year with COVID, and then winter's always a little bit hard to get through. Just people struggling with being extra lonely this year. Do you have any advice or words of wisdom for them?
Yeah, there's lots of people ask that. We have ceremony every Friday evening. It would be good for us to start praying together. You know, a lot of people are missing their responsibilities. A lot of them. for some reason, they're not following creator law. They're just following man-made law. That's quite a difference. I don't want to sound as if it's, it's oh, too bad if you didn't follow this advice kind of a way. It's not, it isn't like that. Of all the people that are having trouble with their health or their work or their school or whatever it is, a lot of that is not their fault. A lot of that is the way that you were taught the traditions and my grandfather says, don't talk about anybody else. Or if there's something that's going on that's not good, go around it, he said. Go around. So those are some very, and I'm surprised that we're not dealing with COVID in a very good manner. It takes quite a while for us to learn how to look after COVID. And it's just like we're staying home and washing your hands. That's all, nothing else. No other way. But it seems like when the government says to do this or that, then we don't follow it. So that's the teaching that COVID is trying to bring us. And it might be good to support one another by following the real good steps in not getting this COVID. It's when you don't listen and when you have your own way of doing things, that's when it's hardship. It's hard when we don't know about a way to look after ourselves. And it's true, a lot of this stuff that's happening to you might be negative, and you never had a chance so to learn about these things. So it's hard to learn when we blame other things, other people, and sometimes you have a right to do blaming, but you can't always completely keep blaming all the time. There's something that you have to do. And I know that three things that I think about. One is my name. When that old man gave me my name, what he said to me is the reason why you got that name is you look over the people, make sure everything is good. And if it isn't, you go and help them. Gee, I'm only 13 years old. What? I don't have anything. I don't know anything. How am I supposed to look after these people? But a few years later, that's how things turned out to be. And when we follow creator law, when we learn about natural law, creator's going to pay you. That's for sure. When you don't bother following those little bit of rules, it's hard. You're hard on yourself. You're hard on your family. You're hard on the things that go on in your daily life. So it's best if you can learn how to look after yourself. It's better. It's much better. And you're able to. That's the thing about this, is that you're able to do that. You might need support at the start and a little bit of help at the start, but once you get used to it, once you learn about you, you're able to continue looking after yourself. Even when the COVID is gone, you'll still continue to look after yourself. I hope I answered.
Yes, thank you. That's really great advice. I know I struggle a lot finding ways to connect with friends and family. I'm so used to seeing everybody all the time. So, I mean, doing things like this is like a new way, but I think you're right. You find a way of managing. I noticed that Hazel had her mic unmuted. Did you want to unmute and ask a question again?
Thank you very much. Kichimigwech kinanakumin nungum gabi kinomo yang kinagego. I'm Anishinaabe, and I'd like to share with you how did you keep your language? The way I'm a residential school survivor of 10 years too, but I kept my language from my dad, my father telling me danis nakatawentan kikikituin kanikako nikesi, which means think in your language. Nobody can tell you what to think. If you think in your language, you will always remember it. How did you preserve your language when you attended residential school so long too?
Yeah, I was a rebel too.
Copy.
I grew up with my language,
Mm-hmm.
and once you build a foundation that's coming from a loving place, you're not going to forget that. No matter what.
No.
I too understood at an early age, I'm going to do what I think is good. And I know residential school to be a bad place for a lot of us. And in your heart, that's where people make mistakes. They live any old way. Somebody says, oh yeah, my feelings are, no, I had to use my body or I had to make prayer. You live in order. I know that because I used to live any old way at one time until I remember what my grandfather, my mom, my dad, my brothers and sisters, the way they done things. I remember that. That's a pretty solid foundation. I forgot about that when I was younger, drinking and fighting and going to residential school and going into the army to learn how to kill people. I know all of that what that done to me. I shut my feelings off during those times. And it was very hard to get it back. Now I know that if I'm going to start my day, I have to think about my feelings. That's a very good starting point. If you start with your brains up, and lots of people are doing that, they start with their brains, whatever they think. You have two brains. It's true. But what about your feelings? What is my feeling? Where is it coming from? And what do I need to do with that? Once you figure that out, you put it into action. Your spirit, that's what's happening. You forget your spirit, and then you get upset or angry or something. So that's what I learned is learn to live in order. Because I lived any old way when I was young, and it doesn't work. That's for sure. I know that. So.
Yeah, and another thing that you said just rings a bell and is so true is when you pray to your spirit in ceremony or in the morning or any other day, you have to be specific in what you're asking or offering to the spirit for what you want. Your ancestors or your spirit, you tell them specifically which you want. If you say cure me, cure you of what? That's something that I learned throughout. I'm older now too, so I went to residential school a long time ago, but that's a prayer. Now, being a story, my story is very different. My mother was born close to an Indian reserve in Manitoba, and her mother died at birth. She wasn't native at all, but she was given to a native family to raise. So that's where she lived. That's the only life she ever knew. There was, she spoke the language, she did everything, but we must still have her spirit, the white man's spirit that came with her. But because her father was not native and her mother wasn't either, but she was nursed by native women that were nursing at the time. But my father came from a very traditional Kikujans family. His dad's name was Kakapainen, which means forever, his grandpa. So I said, I seem to have that part of my mother where she, and then my father's part. So I think that a lot of us are of that same up spirit now. So because we're mixed in the human race. What do you think about that?
Words are really, really important.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of young people today, when they ask for a sweat lodge, the Tukashiras, they don't know what a sweat lodge is. But if you say, I'm going into the ini TP, they understand what that means, because that's who gave us that. There's two things. If you don't get the authority to construct a purification lodge and make prayers in a special way, it's not going to work. The other way, if you don't use the correct words, and if you use sweat lodge, it's not going to work. And I met lots of young people that got hurt in purification lodge, and they come here and they tell me, I got hurt when I was in a sweat lodge. Don't use those words. Another one is smudge. Smudge is to make a mark on something. Cleansing with medicine are the words. That is cleansing with medicine. So you make sure you speak the right words to your ancestors. I got 4 spirits that come to help me. They do all that work. I have an animal spirit, a medicine spirit, a wing spirit, and animal, that dancing spirit, the wing spirit, and medicine spirit. And on top of that, there are other spirits, like my mom comes into my ceremonies, human being spirits. And there's other spirits that come in. You have to watch that. People go from that ceremony to that ceremony, searching for somebody. But go to the ones that is going to help. I don't go around different places to go to ceremony. I stick to my own lodge. I could see my lodge right from here. And that's important. The other thing is, I've been given authority to do certain ceremonies.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other thing. People are not given authority, and yet they go ahead. Those people that is going to do that, they come here because they got hurt from other ceremonies. And I tried to tell them that words are really important. And make sure you find the right person. You go to your own culture.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's important. So those are the things that the spirits are very kind. This yesterday morning, I'm drinking coffee. It's 32 below outside, and yet there was either a large hawk or an eagle that flew right behind right through the teepee poles and the purification lodge. Is that only just why is that happening? I don't understand lots of things, and I will
Mm-hmm.
not do things that I don't understand. I will not handle medicine if I haven't been given a right to handle medicine. This is
Mm-hmm.
much too serious. That's why there's a lot of sickness in this world today. A lot of sickness. So thank you.
Thank you, Miigwech. Thank you for your kind words. And I know language is so important for us to use our language when we pray. For me anyway, that's not saying for everybody. For my language, it's very important. Miigwech, kinanakomin.
Thank you. And I think Tyler has a question.
Yeah. Actually, I have two questions. One, one of them, like, I started that process of following the dreams that were given to me, and I guess that you say they're backwards, or so. My cousin, he's that works with some spirits too, but I talked to him about it and eventually made my pathway to follow our culture, follow our way of life. So one of the when I went to the hill and did the hambrecha, they didn't talk to me in our Dakota language. They talked in English. The only word that was used was Wakita. And a lot of times I hear a lot of elders say that they would speak in the language and stuff like that. But what would you my Dekshi says that they just come to you in whatever language you understand. They'll speak to you in that way. What would be your say about that?
Yeah. Creator is very kind. Your ancestors are very kind as well. Only in 2 instances did my mother come into the lodge where we were, and she spoke English. And I'm thinking it's because those people inside that lodge purification lodge that I was conducting with, lots of people, they don't speak. In fact, I was the only one Dakota speaker there. So I think that's why she spoke English. And the other one time that my sister-in-law spoke in the ceremony I was with, in conducting a ceremony where people come, she also spoke English. All the rest of the time, the old people, the one spirit is like about 600 years old. So they only speak Dakota and the old words, not the regular language Dakota that we use today.
Mm-hmm.
And you must consider, when you say dreams, is it a dream or is it a vision? Figure that out. Once you get used to those things that you're practicing and keeping yourself in really good shape,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the Wakia Oyate and the Heoka Oyate, they work hand in hand most of the time, as far as I could see. They work together. And the main one of the Wakia Oyate, we could try to figure out what you mean by Wakia. In what do you think that is? And then once you get an answer from Creator or an ancestor, Tukashidas bring you an answer. You gotta work on that. See how you put that into action. Lots of times you get instructions, and we don't know what to do with that. You just wait. That's happened to me lots of times. But the main one of the Wakia Oyate, the main one is in the West. That's the main one. He looks after the other three. And I know what he looks like. I've seen him. He's pretty scary looking too. And the Heoka Oyate is not always doing things backwards. That's not really what it is.
Mhm.
Heoka is a very kind spirit that looks after health. And the tools and symbols that you got to have for that, that's also very important. You only make those tools and symbols according to your vision. And if you don't have that, it's not going to work. I know that for a fact because I went through. I have two gourds. One is to notify the ceremony, the holy people, the holy spirits, and the other one is to use for healing. It's the gourd that does the healing, not me.
Mhm.
I don't have any power. I got nothing to do. I just follow what they tell me. That's all I do.
Okay, so the second question I have is like within our community, I guess every community, but within my own community, I see our elders. I don't know what age would you specifically say is an elder? Like right now, if we look around in my community, the people that are 65 and collecting pension and whatnot, and they claim to be elders, but when I think of it, I see an elder as somebody as yourself carrying this knowledge, practicing our way of life. The elders that they say that are here are somebody that distributes and pills, drugs. They're a part of that system. We do have couple elderly men here that don't do any of that, hardworking and stuff like that, but they intend to ask the band for money whenever they do stuff in that. So what would you consider an elder, like through your eyes?
Tukashira Tewa Kantaka will be the only ones to determine who, when, that they would be given special work. And don't use the word elder. Use uka or kunshi or whatever relation you have. Use those words. Words are really important. And I see that most of the time, lots of people are using Washichu words. And Tukashi, they're not going to understand what you're talking about. So it's better if you can really focus. You have this, you have your heart, and you have your whole. There's a reason why you're built whole way, so that you can use these things to put into action some of the dreams and visions, and make sure you know what they are.
Mhm.
You get your teaching, you learn about their teaching, you practice that teaching. You're going to try and understand what this teaching means. And it's all of those things that you're talking about: medicine, language, It's all of those. And sometimes, and people have a habit of calling or talking about people and things that are not true. If you're like that, you're not going to get any help, until you answer straight. That's pretty important. So there's no age. I have my nephew he was 28 when he got his message. I'm much the same like that. My daughter is almost 40. Well, she is 40. She's like that. My other daughter got instructions a full 24 hours. That's day and night of all the instructions, what she needs to do. So it isn't the age or nothing to do with that. It's when Creator watches us. Our ancestors will report to Creator to see how this person is walking. Do you think it's time for you? And all of a sudden, there's a whole bunch of pipes. Where did they get them from? What are they going to use those pipes for? What about your name? How are you using your name? What are you supposed to do with your name? So we tried to go back to those language, try to teach language. Language really is culture. So it's a full thing that we gotta. I see there's some things that needs to be worked on before we fully understand what goes on. I done Sundance up in your community quite a while ago, 22 years ago. So it's not a show, that's for sure. I'm slowing down now. I used to go do everything myself, chop wood, haul water, get the rocks, pick medicine, do ceremony. I used to do all of that. Now I'm slowing down. I don't haul wood anymore. I don't haul rocks anymore. But I still go out and pick medicine. I try not to rely on too many people because I don't know what they're up to. I don't know. Your hands got to be clean. To your mind got to be clean. Your heart got to be free. If you pick medicine with sickness, it's hard to use that medicine. If you're sick and you pick medicine, because it's going to go on that medicine. Not very many people know about this business. Why you picking that medicine? Who's going to action that medicine? What it's for? Will they give it to you? Will Creator give you the go ahead for this kind of a disease? And will you talk to that medicine? Will you action that medicine? Tell this person wants this kind of medicine. It doesn't come from people. It comes from out there. How are you going to use that medicine and what for? People make their own. And what about sweetgrass? People seem to use it anytime. So we really got to pull up our socks about these sacred laws and how holy it is to really go back to the original road. the road, the original road, by the way, is the peace road. That's one of the laws Creator gave us. And are we? No, we're not. We're fighting each other. Just taking any kind of medicine. That's hard to see with our people.
Mm.
The Washichus come here for medicine and they get well. So Dakotas can do the same thing too. So, okay. Anything else?
Thank you. That was really good.
Thank you. Would you like to answer? There's one more question in the chat. Would you like to answer that and then we'll finish off?
Sure.
Right, so the question is from George. He said that his biggest struggle these days has been not being able to do sweat lodge ceremony because of physical distancing. So it's been almost a year since he had a sweat, and it's been a very difficult time. So his question is, what other activities would you recommend that one can do to have in the place of a sweat lodge during this short time?
I don't know what he's talking about, Sweat Lodge. I only know Purification Lodge, or that's the closest I can come to English, but I know my own words for.
So maybe just ceremony in general. So not being able to gather for ceremony. What would be?
That's hard when you're not strong. And my friend phoned me this morning and says, yeah, I feel I need something. He said, well, you can do what you are capable of doing. You can do something to help whatever is around. I see that when people are in trouble or they think that they need something, they always run to ceremonies. But when you don't understand ceremonies, that's going to be trouble. There's such thing as dependency. It's not the same as having a purification lodge to tell Creator you want to do good. That's a different thing. You become dependent. Just like one of these ladies said, I always use Vicks every night. Well, she's stuck now. Or this young girl who eats eggs with mustard. Well, she's sick now. So we live according to the natural world. Eat according to the seasons, my grandfather said. He didn't say, eat it like this or do that like this. Eat according to the seasons and what is going to be good for you. So the answer to the needing of the purification ceremony for now is who is he searching for? And during this time of COVID, how is he going to do that? Him and that conductor or 20 other people sitting inside. That's how people get sick. Ignoring yourself and putting yourself in danger. Not listening to what this spirit, the COVID spirit, is trying to tell you. Instead, you want to go over there and do something that might be harmful to yourself. We really have to look at some of these things. It's important to have a look at some of these things. It's going to be helpful. Creator did not once say, I'm giving you this, and now go out and hurt yourself with this. The Creator didn't say that. Creator instructions are pretty clear. So when you have, what about the Sundance? It's, as far as I understand, would somebody with the go-ahead, somebody who Creator has given the right to have a Sundance, looking at the sun and dancing. Everybody who has been given instructions to have a Sundance ceremony will follow that. And instead, people are having Sundance after Sundance, thinking, how long am I going to carry this on? Did I have instructions to go ahead? No, they didn't. They just went ahead. That's the same as disciplining yourself with what you need. Who says he feels really good when he goes inside and when he comes out? For how long? So it's pretty important that you would figure out what your heart, your feelings are about this. It's good if you can set up, regulate and set a pattern for your own, what somebody calls spirit. When you have my grandpa, for instance, he's a sacred spirit. He's living up there, and he's a sacred spirit. He's way ahead of us. And somebody says, well, we got to make a prayer for the spirit. Which spirit are we talking about? We don't have a choice what spirit is going to come into the lodge. And your spirit and that spirit that came into the lodge, they're going to be connecting. They're going to be doing things. So we have to be careful to understand these ways so that you can get the full benefit of a ceremony. We don't take things for granted. It's holy. And the old people, they told us, don't play with that thing. Otherwise, it'll turn back on you. So I hope that answers that question. Lots of, it's not like the olden days anymore. When I was younger, we would have Purification Lodge for the benefit of those people that come there. I would ask them, why do you need a Purification Lodge? And lots of them are not able to understand that. And when do you want to set a regular time? It's gone like that now because mostly of this COVID thing, and mostly lots of people are requesting prayers. And the way they do that is there's a little container in the front steps. They come and put their tobacco in there. After they phone, say, oh, bring tobacco. So they put it there. And then on Friday evening, we take all that tobacco and we put it downstairs here where we have ceremony. And we have ceremony answering, making prayers to Creator so that we can get an answer for that person. So those are sacred instructions. I forget what the question is.
I think you answered it very well. Thank you. So I just want to be conscientious of everyone's time today. So you said that you wanted to finish off, so I'll let you do that.
Long ago, my He'll be my grandpa. I didn't know that. He was a medicine man, what's called a medicine man. He's a wapia, the one who's able to help people with their health, calling our ancestors down and getting getting help for those people when they're sick. And there was a gathering. And at this gathering, one of the young men came over to him and he says, I need to know why I'm having dreams about the buffalo.
Hmm.
And it's getting more and more, and I'm getting concerned. I think I need to do something with that. And so my grandpa, he said, you come back on Wednesday to my house, or that's when we'll have a ceremony. Okay. So that evening, of course, my grandpa went to sleep, and early in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, his bed was shaking. So he woke up, and when he opened his eyes, there's two spirits standing at the foot of his bed. Takoja, we brought you a song. And he started to sing that song. And when he finished that song, he went back. Thank you, he said. And he went back to sleep. The next morning, he woke up and he told Kunshi, can you make a food? And there's two of them came last night and gave me a song, he said. So she cooked a plate of food, and when she was finished, he lifted up that plate and he said, the two Tukashiras that came last night and gave me a song, this food is for you, he said. And then he put it on a table and he said, oh, Masani, Iyatako, we're going to eat this food. I already offered it to those two spirits that gave me a song. So they both ate that food. When Okan was about 90 years old, he came to Sioux Valley. And he talked to my teacher, my professor. And he called him Tushka, he said to him. Well, he was about 70 years old already. And I didn't know that's his nephew. I didn't know that. So anyway, he said, when I was a young man, he said, this song was given to me by Tukashida. He told his nephew, he said, you are a good singer. He said, you know lots of songs. And you next, he said, I want to give you this song. And you sing this song for people who know about the buffalo. Oh, he said, so he started singing that song. Of course, his nephew, who's a good singer, he picked that song up right away. He's a good singer. And when he finished, he fed him. He fed my grandpa and gave him a blanket. And he gave him some money so he can travel home. He had a driver with him. When Ota was about 94 years old, he phoned me up and said, can you come to my house? Okay. When I went to his house, he's sitting in his famous chair. He said, I look all around. He said, I don't see anybody but you. He said, this is my Dikshi. He gave me the song, he said, and the spirits brought him that song. So I only, you're next, he said, I'd like you to carry this song. And he started to sing. He had a pencil, and he had a cup of tea, and he's hitting the handle, and he started to sing. He's a good singer. And after he finished, I said to him, "What really, Pidama, thank you." I said, I told him, I'm poor. I'm poor I'm not like you. I said, I can't pick up that song just any way. You're good at that. I said, I want to record this song, and so that I want to learn it the right way. Sure, he said. So I put the tape recorder on, and he started singing again, and I put it on every so often. I said, I want to thank you for giving me that song that comes from a holy place. From now on, I said, anywhere you need to go, I'll take you. I said, anywhere. Oh, he said, that's a good deal, he said. So today I remember those people. At 3 o'clock this morning, I was wondering why I woke up. When I wake up at night sometimes, and there's a reason why I woke up. So one of the first things I remembered was that old man, and oh boy, it was a good feeling. So and a name came to me too. I know who that is for. So today I knew I was going to be making and sharing a few words with you, and I want to share this song with you. It's for people who know about the buffalo. I sang this song 4 times already to people who know about the buffalo. So I'd like to share this song with you, just in memory of that, my professor who gave me, who woke me up. What I would like you to do is to sit back and maybe close your eyes and figure out, not think about anything else. Close your eyes and make yourself comfortable and just listen to that song. For those of you who are interested or who are wanting something that they're looking for, you might be able to see that while I'm singing this song, or later on tonight while you're sleeping. Something might come to you, and preparing yourself for that kind of a way is important. Receiving something. I'm not giving you this song. I'm not giving you permission to sing this song. It was given to me, and I only sing it for those people who are searching and for something. Remember, the buffalo is, we still uh, stay connected to that buffalo because of food and clothing and shelter and protection from the buffalo. We still are asking for that. And today it's given to us in a contemporary way. this buffalo. So every time we make ceremony, we ask the buffalo spirit to come inside and look after us. And we, in turn, we reciprocate and to look after a nice place for these buffalo that are still around there somewhere. Up north, they have no fences up there. And so they travel a long ways. And so every once in a while, just like yesterday, a heart and liver of the buffalo is my nephew is bringing that to me because his friend just killed a buffalo. So he's bringing it over. I'm thankful for those kinds of things. And so that's another reason why I would share this song with you. When you go and get the buffalo, no matter which part, the meat or the horns or the head, the skull, when it's put in your possession, the original way is to sing those songs all the way home. That could be like 2 or 3 days or 6 hours home, and you have to sing any old way, not any old way. You have to sing the appropriate songs because that's the way you bring that the food and the teepee and the clothing and the protection. That's how you would get that from the buffalo. This is pretty important. I went through that many times and gathering and looking for it seems to show up. So today, I want to thank you for inviting me to share a few words with you, and I'll leave you with this song. It has a lot of meaning, and it brings back good memories for you. And I would start to sing that song now. Make yourself comfortable and close your eyes. Take off your hat and your glasses or whatever it is that you have, and the two things, the offering and the being thankful, to say thank you. That would be your job regarding this little bit of time we have together. So thank you. Today, if you have a chance, take a little bit of tobacco, go outside and put it on the ground somewhere and make your prayers before you go to sleep today. Thank you. I'll sing that song now. Oh, we talk too much. Thank you.
I just want to thank you, Wanbdi, for sharing all your wisdom and your kindness and your story, your journey, where you are today, and for the prayers that you pray for everyone in your ceremony every Friday. Thank you for that. It means a lot. You definitely spoke to my spirit today. I want to thank you for that. I think the one thing that you know, the thing that I hear for myself, and I don't know if it's the same for everyone, but it's to build a strong personal spiritual foundation with God, Creator, and to come from a loving place always. And so, and I learned that we use, and how important words are, the words we choose. um we use sweat lodge a lot, and I know now that it's a purification. I know that. I also know that I use smudging a lot. I smudge every day, and I know that it's a cleansing ceremony. And so changing the wording, how I use that, is, I want to thank you for that. It's important to know how to choose our words, and that the laws and how they interconnect with one another, and how we have to follow those steps. And yeah, and even with COVID, looking after ourselves and eating with the seasons, and that just makes sense. It just makes sense that we do it that way. And so, yeah, so thank you. I can't say enough. Maybe you can teach us before we go, one couple of how to say hello and how to say thank you in Dakota. I think it's important that we learn these simple greetings when we see our brothers and sisters from other nations, to be able to greet them in that way.
Yeah, I tried to do that, but the only words they want to listen to is Toronto Maple Leafs. That's all they want to listen. For hello, it's two different words. One for the women. The women would say, ha. That's what they would say. For the men, they'll say, how. So those are
Okay.
two different ways. And the other thing is Wopida. Thank you. Wopida Tanka, you'll say. Wopida.
Upida Tanka.
Yeah.
Upida Tanka.
Or you'll say Pidamaya. You could say that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one I'm familiar with. Yeah.
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 Pidamaya. Those are easy words to.
Yeah.
Okay. And Friday night, if you can think about tomorrow night, take a little bit of tobacco or fruit or whatever it is that you have. Make a prayer about 7 o'clock, 7:30. Go outside, make a prayer. Put that food in your fireplace after you're finished, or the tobacco at the fireplace when you're finished. You already made a prayer and you said thank you. So if you can think about that, do that tomorrow and every Friday evening from now until we don't know when. But it'll be helpful if you can do that. So thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you again. Well, that concludes today. Maybe Amanda, you can put the survey link again. It's all in your emails in the registration. So we'd love to hear back from you. Maybe some things that you'd like us to hear more of in our series of Reclaiming Culture Connections, Reigniting Blood Memory. We have Dene, history and storytelling coming up soon. If you want to visit our Anish Facebook page, we have it there. What else do we have coming up? We have
Star Blanket Teachings.
our blanket teaching on Friday. So if you haven't registered, that's the live teaching. If you want to, we'd love to have you join us then too. But we are speaking with different knowledge keepers and to share with us all as broad as we can get out there. And so keep your eye out and go and like our page. And we'd love to see you again. Okay.
Thank you, Eva.
Yeah. Take care, everyone.
All
Oh,
right.
there's the link.
Thank you so much.
And everyone's.
All right. Wanbdi gone too.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
left.
Okay, that was an awesome